Hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
I am well. How are you today?
I am actually kind of warm, I mean, they said it's only 23 out, but it feels like 27 and yeah, I'm sleeveless too. And I just turned the air on because I thought, no, I don't want to be sweating while I'm recording. It'll be distracting. So, and I'm doing the old Finnish trick of drinking a hot cup of coffee to cool me down, but it's not helping.
I am doing the same trick. Whenever you're hot, you have a hot cup of tea, according to
Oh,
my grandma.
yeah. And I just had coffee left over from breakfast in my lovely Moomin mug sent to me by my dear knitting friend in Finland.
Aw.
And it's an L, and it's
Yeah.
Mama Moomin, Moomin Mama. So yeah, she knows how much I like Moomin. So there you go. And
I have been known to have leftover coffee in the morning and I just add ice cubes to it later in the day.
see, and my same friend, she will actually freeze coffee into ice cubes and then throw it into her iced coffee.
I need to get new ice cube holders because I don't have enough to do
And
that.
I have an iced
Brilliant.
coffee maker, and I need to make some iced coffee because I actually have some syrup that's quite low calorie, no calories syrup that's, it's probably full of every decadent chemical known to mankind.
Oh,
But
no, for me, iced coffee is iced coffee. Like all that crap that you buy at the places that shall be, nameless, all the coffee shops, and it's like chemicals, 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 sugar, sugar, chemicals. No,
yeah.
no. It was so exciting when I think Starbucks was might have the first one to do it, and McDonald's does it. You can just get plain black iced coffee.
Mm.
Nothing. Just it's,
And it's funny because I drink my coffee black, right?
yeah.
But for some reason, sometimes in iced coffee, I like a little bit of a creme brulee, like a little shot of it, uh,
Hmm.
syrup. So, anyways, but yeah. Anywho, we should get
Anywho,
started here.
okay. I
I'm
have
Leah Natson, and you are.
I am Peggy Margaret Semple, and we are the wise and wicked crones. We used to start with that song.
I know. I'll have
Have to
to.
go back to that, but it's you know what? It takes time to listen to, and we run talk so much that
And we're on the clock right now. So
we are.
because
And
we're
I just pulled a card for us for today from my mother piece deck, and it is number 2, the High Priestess, which is about someone who is grounded in emotion and passion and spirituality, but also has the pillars of thought on either side. And so it's a very calm, a very peaceful, inward looking, but also expressing outwards because she is also a priestess. So, kind of going along with our topic today. I mean, we can make anything fit if we really need to, but um, because the topic today is,
granny hobbies.
there we go. So, I'm just going to stop for a moment before I go on because every time I move my hands, my finger that was sore, I finally went to the doctor. As I had suspected, I hurt the tendon, injured the tendon, and so it needs to be more immobilized than I was keeping it. Therefore, the very beauteous splint. Okay,
It matches your painting in the back behind you. So you're
it
like totally
does.
you're like all Zen color coordinated. Love it. Okay.
So this was a topic that Leia proposed, and I thought it was a really cool idea to talk about because we both are doing things, some new things, new hobbies, some old hobbies. So why don't you start off by what the granny hobby thing is?
Okay, well, the granny hobby thing, or so-called granny hobby thing, is
Yeah.
is is a kind of a trend. People are re-engaging in things that our mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers did as hobbies. But actually, when you look at it, a lot of them were actually necessities, but there is a
Yeah.
whole variety of them, you know. And when you actually start to make a list, you realize actually how big the list is of granny hobbies. So, what are your favorite granny hobbies?
So my granny hobbies don't really count. So what I've been doing forever to relax, and I have one, is I do needlepoint because it's very repetitive, it's very mindless but creative. So the one that I'm working on right now, which I can't work on because of my finger,
Absolutely.
um, is flowers,
Oh,
but I like the
lovely.
colors.
Oh,
And
yeah.
here you can see what's done and what's not done. So
Hmm.
it's just a basic in and out. Oh, I found one. I've got a big one on my wall that I did when I was first married, but can't see it. Then there's this one. And I was
Oh,
like, I've got these canvases and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll make pillows with them or something. They're
hmm.
not practical. They're just to keep me, they're very soothing, right? Repetitive. Um, so uh also my other hobbies that I'm doing a lot more that's called a granny hobby is bird watching, is called a
Oh, interesting.
granny
That was
hobby.
not on my list. Okay.
That's one on I found a list of 37 so-called granny
Oh
hobbies.
my goodness, you have more than I do for sure.
And a lot of them uh, you know, but they didn't include ones that me and my friends are doing,
Hmm.
which include a lot of my friends are taking up African drumming with me.
Oh.
Learning a new instrument.
Hmm.
Ukulele is hugely popular. And in fact, I got one
Oh,
just about the time I
cool.
hurt my finger. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking
Okay.
forward. There's ukulele groups. Um, there's t taking up dancing, a new kind of dancing, an old kind of dancing, whatever. Learning a new language,
Mm.
learning paddle boarding. I have so many friends who are in good enough shape to be paddle boarding.
Is that really a granny hobby? To me,
If
that's,
I figure if we're grannies
yeah.
or crones, why can't we claim it as what does it have to
Yeah.
be?
But I
I
guess
mean,
I'm thinking more of things that were more archaic. Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, paddle boarding doesn't
Yeah.
count in there, but
No.
choir, singing,
Yep.
dancing,
Yep.
new instrument, new language, those count.
Absolutely.
Reading,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
still reading a lot.
Mm.
And I do play card games and board games when I get to be social.
Mm-hmm.
Those count.
Yep. Those are definitely on
Journaling,
the
I
list.
get to do. Mm,
Me too.
walking. I
That's not
don't
really a hobby.
know.
That's
What
more of a
else is
fitness thing.
there? I
Grand,
mean, I know
well, gardening. Gardening is definitely that's you love gardening. Gardening is a huge
gardening is a big one. I was helping Brent in his garden on, we did a lot of work outside Friday and Saturday. And Saturday, I was helping him weed his vegetable garden. And I'm
mm,
like, I don't know how anybody enjoys this.
yeah.
Like, seriously.
I thought you were a big gardener. I don't like gardening, but I do like growing vegetables. And when Bob was
That's
alive, we had our
gardening.
weekend house. I had a huge vegetable garden, and I used to grow all kinds of things. I wasn't very good at it, but I was getting better at it. So, but that both my sisters have huge gardens. One of them even has a greenhouse, and she grows so much food she can donate it to the local food bank,
Yep.
which I think is
Yep.
really great.
Our
Um,
choir does a plant sale fundraiser, and
ah,
some of the women are such amazing gardeners, and they also are really into the native plants, so
mm.
they know what is invasive and can't have, and
I haven't got
oh,
a clue. I haven't
stuff.
got a clue. So along with that kind of gardening is things like pickling, pickling
Yep.
vegetables, preserving vegetables, making jams, jellies, those kinds of things. Those all kind of go under that. What else have I got here? There was a whole during COVID, we all remember the whole big sourdough craze. Everybody was making sourdough, but me. No, I wasn't making sourdough. But that, and a lot of people have continued on with that, baking their own bread, doing a lot of home baking and that kind of a thing. I think cooking in general, I'm hoping, at least during COVID, that it had an uptick, and that people continued with proper home cooking when they have the time to do it, because given not everybody has the time, especially
Yeah.
if you're working. Puzzles, that kind of goes with your card game, and a lot of people are into puzzles now, and I think
Yeah.
that's a bit of a granny hobby. No?
I think you're probably right. I'm not a big puzzle fan.
Mm-hmm.
I will do it with my mom if she's got one out,
Mm-hmm.
but I like other games. So now I play them on my phone.
Oh,
It,
okay.
so crosswords, I don't have to play it on my
Mhm.
phone. Crosswords, I love crosswords. That's a
Mhm.
puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then one of the lists I saw, they listed, games on your phone, and I'm like, is that really a granny
No, no,
hobby?
because again, it doesn't. To me, it's got to stand independently of technology in a
Yeah,
way. So, but I think puzzles does fall under that. What else have I
yeah,
got here? And then there's the whole big thing of needlecraft. Okay, and you said needlepoint, which I did when I was younger. I have
yeah.
I have a Victorian prayer chair in my hall stairwell, rather, that's been in my family for well over
Yeah,
150 years.
it's beautiful.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's unfortunately it's falling apart. But
Mm. You could take up furniture fixing.
I actually used to refinish furniture when I was young and when I first got married. I refinished because my mom was a huge furniture refinisher and my dad was very also into it. They that was their hobby. They bought antiques before anybody else did and refinished them. But I don't really
Cool.
consider that a granny hobby.
No.
Embroidery is getting huge. What's the other one called? Like petit point? You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
yeah,
There's Petty Point, there's Cruel, there's
well, there's another one.
crochet. Oh, crocheting is a little different again, more like knitting,
No,
right?
there's a yeah, there's that. Rug hooking is become popular, whether with wool or with fabric or reusing fabrics.
Hmm.
Spinning is huge in the fiber community. There's everything from buying ready-made and dyed fleece to getting your own wool, cleaning it, carding it, doing everything that you need to do. I have tried spinning classes twice and failed miserably, and I was using in class either a drop spindle or sports spindle, which is the hand spinning rather as opposed to the wheel and that kind of a thing. And the reason I failed miserably and I figured it out is because I'm almost ambidextrous. And like when I do my makeup, I do left hand, left side, right hand, right side. And I can't,
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. And I cannot. They say you got to do something, draw with your dominant hand. I could not figure out which hand was dominant. I was like going back and forth, and
Oh,
I just said to
wow.
my knitting bestie Brenda, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Huh.
Crochet. I might be better with a spinning wheel. And the irony of it was my great grandmother, my paternal great grandmother, was a huge fiber person, and she made dolls. We forgot doll making dolls
Oh,
and
yep, that's a hobby.
yeah, toy making, and she crocheted, she sewed, she knitted, and she also spun. And we ended up with the spinning wheel that was the antique fancy one, as opposed to the one that I quite clearly remember was in my grandparents' house, which was a functional spinning wheel.
Mm.
And I've asked my sisters, nobody seems to know where it is. I'm wondering if my cousin, and I should ask my cousin because she doesn't spin. And then, of course, there's knitting, and I am a huge knitter. And I
Yeah.
started knitting when I was about 6 years old in Finland. My mom was Finnish, and in Finland, kids have to knit in school. They start in grade 1 or 2, and they take it for a couple of years. So boys and girls all can knit. They knit socks, they knit mitts, they knit hats, they knit very basic things. And then I knit quite a bit until and when my babies were babies, I knit for them. And then I stopped for many years because I was working evenings and it just wasn't conducive to doing that. And then I took it up again, I think about 12 years ago.
Mm.
And in the past 10, 12 years, I have produced about 350 items, many of them clothing and
Yeah.
like the sweater I'm wearing, and hats, mitts, all that kind of thing. I'm working on this. This is a,
Oh, pretty.
and it's your color, but it's
Yes,
mine.
I think I mentioned before that Leia tests patterns for
Yes,
people.
so that's kind of another hobby that evolved. So I started with knitting and then I started testing patterns and I test patterns for finished designers. One I did tested for a Latvian designer. It was a really hard pattern. Probably never test for her again. Just because it was just really challenging.
Yeah.
Um, and then so there's about four of them that I regularly test for. So this one that I have on the needles here, I've tested probably close to 50 of her patterns. So, and this one is she's a little behind, but I've tested probably about 20 of her patterns. So test knitting is
Wow.
something else. And along with test knitting is collecting fiber and collecting yarn. And nothing gets a knitter or a crocheter more excited than a fiber festival. And my knitting bestie and my sister, we all volunteered for Knit City in March, and it was in Toronto. We volunteered. We worked the merchandise table, so people coming up and buying bags with the logos and all that kind of stuff. Huge, huge, biggest knitting yarn fiber festival in Canada, and it was amazing. And then last August, I actually took a knitting cruise,
Hmm.
which sounds really weird, but it was 160 people from around the world, predominantly Americans, then Canadians, some Australians, and some other people, which was a European scenic cruise. Now, always wanted to go on a cruise when Bob was alive, and he always kind of poo-pooed the idea. And when this opportunity came up, I jumped on it because I thought I only knew one person when I got on the cruise ship. But then, I made a bunch of friends, which is one of the many reasons that people like to get into a craft because you can then join and become part of a community. And through the miracle of technology, the communities are not just confined to your local area. I support some different people on Patreon, and one of my friends that I support is in Finland, and she runs a monthly live Zoom meeting. So now I've met friends from all across the world, including my friend who sent me this beautiful mug.
I
Um,
think I think that's a really important part about hobbies at our
Absolutely.
age is finding one that also gets you out into community. So
Exactly.
because that's we tend to isolate and especially after COVID, where and it's really good to get out to meet people. Like I find I was talking to Brent about this the other day. I don't get to see or even have contact with very many of the people that I grew up with because I have moved so much.
Hmm.
And so I am at the point where I am like really working hard to either rebuild or build new friendships because it's like otherwise I can quite easily become a little hermit and
Yeah.
that's not healthy.
No, and that is dangerous. So for people who feel isolated, so for people who feel like some of the people in this knitting group, for example, are physically challenged and have a difficulty getting out, but now they have a sense of community because they now we know each
Yep.
other and we've been on this group long enough. We can joke, we can make make jokes about it. Made really good friends with a very well-known Canadian knitting podcaster to the point where she actually comes and stays at my house when she's in Toronto, which I would never have met her otherwise. And now I have
Yeah.
another new friend, which I think is
Yeah.
really important. So kind of the flip side to that, and I've made notes, so I'm going to refer to them occasionally. You see me looking down here. So the flip side to the community, though, is that these crafts, these granny uh, crafts, also give you the opportunity to do the opposite, to cozy up in your home, particularly in
Hmm.
the winter, with the hygge and this kind of the slow, soft, meditative way of living that gives you that opportunity to do that as well. So you can either be social or you can do your craft in a solitary way, which allows you to become meditative because a lot of these crafts provide a meditative and
Yep.
soothing thing to your psyche and to your body. They do help lower blood pressure, which I think is really important. And then when you want to be social, you be social. So tonight my knitting group's coming in, so we'll have wine. What? Okay.
Oh, what?
What? Wine and snacks and we call ourselves the Vigilante Grannies Stitch and Bitch Maker Circle. So
Yep.
we'll knit, we'll crochet, we'll socialize, and we'll gossip. So there is that. And then like on Saturday, I guess I didn't mention this already, but on Saturday, my knitting bestie and I, and I think her sister are going to a yarn festival, fiber festival in Fenland Falls in the
Nice.
afternoon.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that'll be fun too. That'll be something different. So there's that
Quilting.
whole, sorry,
Yeah, quilting is another art craft that a lot of
forgot
people
about
you can do
quilting.
it solitary and then you can get into a circle. Because when
Right.
you said the Stitch and Bitch, when I was
Yep.
writing the play about quilters, um, years ago now, that was one of the things that kept coming up. How women had their official name, but they always were, yeah, we really were the Stitch and Bitchers. It was
And I
like
think,
very funny.
and I think women, if you go back a long time ago, women needed that social aspect to get together. They worked very hard. They worked hard on their farms, their families, whatever, raising their, all the housework that went, into it. Oh, sorry, my son is calling me. I knew he was going to do that. Let's go away. Um, and um, it provided an outlet, a social outfit for women to get together because women do need community. And you and I know that very well because when we were in Party Light, sometimes when we did Party Light shows for people, that was the only time these women ever got together with their friends. So we provided
Yep.
a very important social outlet for them.
Yep.
So, and all these crafts are good for your brain. They stimulate your creativity. You have to problem solve. So one of the reasons I like test knitting is because when I get a raw pattern before a designer puts it out into the world for sale, um, and it's been tech edited and everything before we get it, but there's often mistakes in it.
Yeah.
And so you're actually knitting mistakes or crocheting mistakes, you're fixing mistakes, you're helping the designer. So you're also puzzling it out because you're going, no, that stitch count isn't quite right, or this could be done differently. And it's very helpful. So you're using that part of your brain as well, which I think is, so it's meditative, but it's also gets you to do some thinking as well.
We need to engage our brains. We really do. And it's that duo thing, right? It's like, yes, we need to do the repetitive, the meditative, get that, um, parasympathetic side kicking along, but we also need to use our brain in different ways and new ways, and that's why learning a language is so good.
Hmm.
That's why they say actually singing, especially choral singing
Hmm.
and dancing are two of the best, bar none, ways to integrate physical health, breath, using your brain like socially. It's all of those things,
Yeah.
right? And I mean the textile, any of the textile or needle crafts, they're so wonderful for a lot of that too. And especially if you do,
Exactly.
add the community sense to it. Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing too is you're creating something, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes you're, like that when you think about it, all this is some needles and string. And if I take it off the needles and pull it, away it goes. It's gone. There's nothing there. So when you're taking, dirt and seeds and you're growing plants, or when you're taking bits of fabric that are going to be discarded, you're creating something. So there's a whole issue of being creative, transactional, but it's also very practical because I'm creating garments for myself, for my family, for my friends. And there's that whole gift giving part of it too, because, and you should, when you are given a homemade gift, handmade gift by somebody, even if you don't love it, you should cherish it
Yeah.
because love and time and money to a certain extent went into it because yarn, like, let me tell you, knitting is not a cheap hobby. The average sweater I make probably cost me $150 in yarn, at least.
Although I have to tell you that I and a couple of my other friends who do a lot of knitting, I don't do a lot of knitting, but uh, we check the thrift shops
Hmm.
and the because there's often wool,
Oh
and
yeah,
sometimes I got some gorgeous wool, like really good stuff, and
mm,
a whole lot of it too.
yeah,
Which sometimes it's like, okay, people have finished their pattern and they donate a few balls, and if you're just doing scarves or whatever, because I like to just now knit. I don't like to I used to do patterns. I don't have the brain width for that right now anymore. It's like or at the moment. I just want to if my hands need to be busy,
yeah.
right?
And yeah, I have restless hands too, which is why I take my knitting everywhere. And some people go, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm knitting, okay." And I knit in waiting rooms, like everybody else in the doctor's waiting room. They're a little on their phones, and I'm not. I'm knitting away and looking at people. And sometimes people talk to me. Sometimes people ask me questions. But again, I'm a little bit more choosy. I'm very choosy with my yarns and my
Mm.
because I'm creating garments.
Yeah.
So part of it, my mandate was to replace fast fashion
Yeah.
with sustainable garments. So I'm also choosy about who I'm buying yarn from because how are they producing their yarn and
Yeah.
where's the yarn coming from and how are the animals treated and there's different ways to get silk, like for example, a lot of it's they would take the silk worms and they boil them to get kill the worms to get the silk out. But there's other ways to do it now. The silk might
Way
not
more
be quite as
sustainable.
high grade, but you're also not killing the worms. So
Yeah.
there's different things that you have to take into consideration for that as well. So part of my knitting practice is to look at the environmental aspect of it, the sustainable aspect of it. I have a sweater upstairs that my mother knit in 1954, with the exception of a couple of tiny little moth holes. Looks like it would be brand new. The color
Hmm.
is vibrant and
Yeah.
everything. Whereas opposed to, and the other thing too is when you're wearing wool, yak, alpaca, any of these things, they actually keep you warm. Whereas
Mhm.
synthetic fibers, and it's not to just people who want to make synthetic product, but synthetic fibers are basically plastic. So if you're cold and you're wearing a sweater, you got to look at what the fiber content
Mhm.
is, because
Yep.
if it's plastic, it's not going to be warm at all. And I've seen people shivering.
Can you tell Leia is a very passionate knitter on so
Oh.
many levels? It's like, you know, we could do a whole podcast one day on all of this too, because you know so much about it.
I do, I
It's
do, I
really
do, I
cool.
do, I do know a lot of it. The other thing, I kind of have two more points. One is also too, I think the rise in granny hobbies, so to speak. And I am a grandmother, but my children call me Mima. Is that it's tactile in a world that's becoming increasingly plastic, not to
Yeah, I
just
like that.
plastic, but everything is smooth now. Computers are smooth. Your kitchen appliances are smooth. Your cell phone is smooth. There's so much smoothness that there's nothing tactile to grab onto. So when you're digging in dirt, or you're kneading bread dough, or you're cutting up fruit, or whatever you're doing, knitting, crocheting with needle in your hand, it's tactile. You're feeling your sensory, you're engaging in your senses in a way that you wouldn't be doing if you're sitting there on your phone. Eeny, eeny, click, click, click.
Yeah.
There's that whole tactile, that need to be tactile in a world that's increasingly plastic, which I think and smooth. And I'll
Hmm.
never forget, I have a friend, and years ago, she redecorated her house. It was, this is sort of off topic a little bit, but she decorated her house. It was all white and white leather furniture and white um, walls and gray carpets. And you went in there, and there was nothing tactile to grab onto. There were no cozy throws or cozy pillows or plants. It was like smooth and white. You might as well have been inside of a box of Kleenex for all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
soothing comfort that it gave you.
Yeah.
And I think we need something tactile.
I want to just pick up on the gardening because I have gardened and enjoyed it before. It was just not this weekend. But one of the things about gardening and getting your hands in the dirt is they have shown that you through your hands, if you're not wearing gardening gloves, you're picking up from the soil things that help with depression. And I can't
Yes.
remember the scientific stuff around that, but that's important. And then the other thing too, like when you're talking about wool, but and clothing, like thrifting and antiquing is apparently a granny hobby, which,
Okay. Yeah, for
I
sure.
think, it's certainly a lot of fun. But that's if I'm looking at clothes, I don't, I let the colors attract me too, but I feel everything because I'm looking for the feel, like you can tell the feel of real fiber clothing as
Mhm.
opposed to the other stuff that feels, chintzy or icky
Slippery,
sometimes,
slippery
right?
jersey. There's that slippery jersey feeling that I don't always want. And it's not, it doesn't keep you cool. Like when you're wearing fine wool or silk or linen, it's breathable. When
Yeah.
you're wearing, whenever in the spring and summer, whenever I wear a top that's more synthetic, and I have a few that I absolutely love, but honest to God, I feel like smelly pit day. Like I feel like I'm
I
sticky. Like,
know.
and
And it doesn't come out.
no. Whereas a wool sweater, like a real wool sweater or mostly wool sweater, you may only have to wash it once or twice a season. And I can
Yeah.
wear sweaters like a couple of things you can do. If you think it's getting smelly, you can hang it outside. You can roll it in the snow. That's another good way to clean it up. There's a lot of things you can do, but you don't need to be washing them as much. So I think that's
Yeah.
really, really important. Um,
Yeah. And I know for summer too, cotton, right? Like the difference between cotton and linen
oh
or
yeah.
silk, whatever.
Yeah.
And you got, oh, anyway, go ahead. What you were going to say
Actually,
another.
I just ordered two pairs of loose linen pants from a company my
Mm.
sister recommended, and this is not a plug. We're not getting any money for it. The company called Quince. They don't have a storefront, but I got two pairs of pants, black and taupe, for $60 each. And I think for linen pants, that is really good. And I kind of
Is it
like that.
nice linen?
I think it's very fine. It's fine linen, but the thing is, I think it's a nice look, especially when you're making with hand knit tops and things like that. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it gives a really good vibe, as opposed to I have a lot of spring pants, but they're more like, they're more commercially made. Anyways, I just thought this for summer would be nice and cool. You don't know, I don't always want to wear shorts. I don't know who's texting me there.
Mm,
And it's kind of the last point that I want to make with what I have written down here is there's a sense of continuity and a sense of generational sharing, because like I said to you, my great grandmother was a knitter, and an intense crafter, and unfortunately she passed away when I was about 8 years old. I didn't know her like very well at all. Um, Mostly because her son, my grandfather, had died actually before she did. So
mm,
I didn't really get to know her very well, but I do have handmade dolls upstairs that she made. So she was very, very crafty. And then, we have like Eva, my sister Eva has a rug that my grandmother made in Finland. All the Finnish people make it's a particular kind of a rug. It's called a ryu, and it had a practical purpose. So it would have, the fluffy bits on the one side and then nicely sort of hooked on the back. And then in very cold months, they would actually sleep under a ryu. It wasn't always on the
mm.
floor. They would flip it over so that you had the fuzzy part against you and the smooth part on the top. So there's, that. And my mother was very talented with all those granny, anything she put her hand to. She was brilliant, but she didn't like knitting so much as she liked crocheting. But she
My mom loved knitting, still loves knitting.
did.
My mom just turned 94, and she used to, when I was little, she knit us clothes, she knit Barbie doll clothes. She like did all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. Now my mom knits scarves. And she's getting to a point now where she sometimes makes mistakes on it, but she knits and it keeps her fingers going, it keeps her going, and then she will donate them.
Yes.
So it's wonderful,
Well, it's
and
that
it's
sense of purpose. So there's a
yeah.
purpose there when you have a craft that you're passionate about. Then you also have a purpose that's outside of whatever. And if you've lost your purpose in life, because when Bob passed away, I lost my part of my big purpose, which was, to create a lovely lifestyle for us. So, and I was knitting when he passed, but then I became more passionate about it because it kind of filled that gap. But there,
Mm,
again, with the continuity thing, now I tried to teach my daughter-in-law, she wasn't so much interested, but my granddaughter, who's only 5, keeps bugging me, teach me how to knit, teach me. And I said, well, we'll have to wait another year. So I bought her what we used to call a corking tool.
yeah, I did that when I was little.
Corking, yeah. So now they
Yeah.
don't call it corking, they call it French knitting or some other such thing. So I bought her some tools. We haven't had a chance to use it because I haven't spent enough time with her. She was here on last week, but we went swimming instead. So I'm gonna sit down and teach her how to do that and then see how she likes it. So I'm creating a generational kind of a continuity here so that when she grows up, and I was watching a podcaster out of Scotland yesterday. And she was very emotional, and hadn't podcasted in a while because her grandmother had just passed away.
Mm,
And her grandmother was the one that taught her how to knit.
mm.
So there's that lovely generational continuity that I would like to keep going. So it's that handing down of knowledge and information and culture and creativity that I
Yeah,
think is really
which is
important.
wonderful. And for people who don't have that, they are often now the ones who are going, I'm gonna do a granny hobby. Like people a lot younger than us, right? Who are sort of going, that looks like fun, or oh, I see that that's, you know, being done, and so that people who haven't got the gift of the generational hand down are rediscovering some of these things, both for just the fun of it, the hobby of it, and also for the practicality of it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
making your own food, growing your own food,
Mhm.
um, making your own clothes, all of that stuff. Like, I mean, sewing, clothes, that's another
Oh,
what they're
dude.
calling a granny hobby, you know? So,
Exactly. And the interesting thing is like not so much now, but certainly in the past few years, like people sort of make fun of that like old lady hobby. But the designers that I test for, okay, I am old enough to be their mother. All the four main ones that I test for, they are all my children's ages. So
mm,
these women are young, they're hip, they're stylish, they're fashion conscious, they're creative, and they want to create an individual look. So often when they start knitting is because they want to create an individual look for themselves that speaks to how they feel about themselves and how they see themselves in the world. And then their patterns become popular, and then other people want to make them.
So I guess that's part of why what we have done a lot of our whole lives, and now we are at that granny crone phase. People who are a lot younger are calling them granny hobbies because they haven't been doing them all along. And it was women of our generation and prior who did them all along, right? And
Exactly.
so that's kind of because I would say most of them are hobbies,
Yeah.
but that is why the name has happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really neat thing.
It is. And I
I
think it's kind of jumped. It's kind of, I think there's that generation in the middle that missed the continuity. And then I'm hoping that this younger generation that's into it again is going to carry this on and carry it forward as the world gets
Well, and that middle
increasingly
generation
technological.
too. The middle generation is part of who are embracing the granny hobbies with
True.
that name, right?
Yeah.
So
But
it's all
there is a gap. There is a 10 or 12, 20-year age gap between us and these younger women where they didn't kind of get into that kind of a thing.
right, but as they're hitting the new age, they're going to start to.
I hope so. I
Especially,
hope so.
yeah. And possibly it's going to go from younger generation up too, right?
Oh,
Hey, mom,
yeah,
you should try this with me.
absolutely. And there's a bit of a fear factor in starting a new hobby, but so what?
You know what? As with anything, you're going to be terrible before you're bad. And you're
Oh
going to be
yeah.
bad before you're good, and you're going to be
Oh
good
yeah.
before you're great.
Oh yeah.
So
Like, let me tell
start.
you, no matter how good you think you are, okay, I'm knitting my sister a pair of socks. I finished the second sock. I look at the first sock, they're different. And I realized at first sock, I have made a colossal mistake. So now I've had to start a third sock. So to match the second sock. And my other sister said, like, what are you going to do with the one sock? And I said, I don't know. Just hang on to it. And it's a reminder that you're not perfect. And I can't rip it back
Mhm.
because I actually sewed up the toe and the mistake is right at the beginning. So I just think that's absolutely hilarious. So even I make mistakes, made a mistake in this one 3 times. And like I was like, are you going to rip that thing back again? And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I
But
once made a sweater, didn't check the tension,
hmm,
and ripped out the whole sweater.
yep. Oh, if I had a nickel for every time I did that, I'd be a millionaire. So we're not
Right?
perfect, but we are learning. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody, stay wise,
Stay wicked.
and we will see you soon.
All right.
Okay. Mwah. Bye.